Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
Ready?
Yep. Let's go. Let's laugh. We are imperfect after all.
Okay.
Hello and welcome to the Imperfect Us podcast.
I'm Kylie McLerie.
And I'm Lisa Downs. As hosts of the Imperfect Us podcast, we share relatable stories that celebrate we are all perfectly imperfect humans, leading perfectly imperfect lives. We discover practical and evidence-based strategies that draw on the science of well-being and positive psychology that help us to uncover the barriers that might hold us back from being our authentic selves and turn them into opportunities so that we can show up more consistently, doing what we really aspire to do and who we want to be.
We acknowledge the Wadawurrung and the Kaurna people as traditional custodians of the beautiful lands on which this podcast is being recorded. We pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging, and extend this respect to other First Nations people who are here with us today. So, let's get started. Kylie McLerie has held positions in educational leadership at school and regional levels for the past 26 years. She is an inspiring, experienced and highly motivated facilitator who has a genuine passion for engaging groups and teams in critical and creative thinking. With a background in education, educational leadership, leadership coaching, and as a business consultant, she understands people and the importance of human agency in all organisations. Kylie is all about connection and sees all relationships as genuine two-way learning opportunities. She harnesses the collective wisdoms of people, teams and organisations and uses this to plan innovative ways forward. Let's welcome Kylie McLerie. Kylie, thanks so much for joining us today. We would love to hear about what led you to the work that you do.
Right. It's a bit of a long story, so I'll try and encapsulate it in a small little pocket. So I've always known as an educator and an educational leader, my background being as a school principal, that the power of a connected workforce is quite huge. And what I was feeling was not only in the educational sector, but across sectors, was that we were losing focus on what really was important in terms of connecting our employees to the big picture and really championing them as humans. I don't like to always use the adage around numbers, but I did feel that that's what we were becoming. We were losing the human side. And I think that that was being superseded, particularly in education and across businesses, in production targets, test scores, and increasing workloads. And I think that was the focus. And connecting people as humans, as professionals, was something that I felt like was dwindling at a fast rate. So workplace cultures and a focus on employee wellbeing, I really think that's what makes people committed and they want to stay within that culture and they want to achieve more as they feel part of that big picture and they feel connected to the company vision and values and making things happen. So I thought my skill set would allow business leaders to refocus on what matters. So I started my small business and the ever-growing business of employee wellbeing and workplace culture, collective culture consultancy about 3.5 years ago. And just the take-up has been huge because I think people are really seeing, and I don't know if COVID's helped, but I think that people are really seeing that it is important to focus on each employee and each of us as humans. And we need to do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree.
I love that piece, especially with the connection and relationships that you're, prioritising in your workplace and for the workplace of others. It's just so important, especially with COVID, that, we're missing that connection all the time. But also we know that once we're in any organisation, relationships just matter so much. It helps us to thrive and flourish a bit more. So I'm just so proud of you for that. That's amazing. And excuse my voice, everyone. I am losing my voice, but I'm showing up as my authentic self today.
I think that COVID point is a good one as well because we're so used to those quick conversations around the water cooler, so to speak. We can have a chat and we can connect and we can talk about what's going on, and we don't have that anymore. And that has definitely, with the people I've been speaking to, definitely has an impact on how they feel about the work they're doing, about their well-being. The whole picture is impacted, isn't it?
Definitely. And I think even myself as a teacher, that you don't recognise how unanchored you become from the students, their families and your colleagues when you're not face to face. I'm lucky enough to have been in Western Australia, so haven't been hugely impacted, but the work that I do has, because obviously I work across the globe, but really looking at how do we make those connections happen in an online environment and really make sure that we understand each other, not just in a professional sense, but in a personal sense as well.
Absolutely. And we're just wondering if you could share a little story about when maybe you have had the imposter syndrome or when it has shown up for you or perhaps a client.
Oh, I'm going to be vulnerable here and really talk about myself, because I've been really trying to turn the volume down on my imposter syndrome for many, many years. So stepping out of a 26-year career in education, I knew there was a need for the work that I did, like I said before, but it took me 10 years to take the leap, because I really was thinking about, who am I to be giving businesses advice? What place is it of mine to walk into a mining company or a local government and think that I can have an impact? And these were the questions that were going through my head. So I finally turned the volume down 10 years later and said, just rip the Band-Aid off and go and have a crack, because that's what I think we need to do to really set that imposter syndrome down where it needs to be staying. So my imposter syndrome really stems from my anxiety that I'm not good enough. And I think this is why I can easily fall into burnout mode. So I think if I do more, prove more, work with more people, help more people, that I can prove myself to be enough. And that's had some quite significant physiological and mental impacts over my life. So I really have to work hard to keep on top of that. So my negative self-talk can get really loud, and really I have to be very conscious all the time about just turning that volume down and really championing that positive self-talk. I'm a massive overthinker. It's genetic in our family.
I'm about to say, I think it's in all women. We ruminate it all the time.
Yes.
All the time.
So yeah, that is very genetic, and I will go to worst case scenarios. So what I've really tried to do is build my strength of courage. So I'm more secure in jumping in and giving things a go. And I really have an ethos that says nothing is forever. Give it a go, see how you go, reflect, do your best. And if you go in with the best of intent, you can quiet those voices. So and moving in across all those sectors, even though I didn't know what they did as jobs, what I've actually realised when I come out the other end of this is people are people, regardless of the work that they do. So it doesn't matter where you're working. People are people. We all need the same skills to build connection and build connected workforce cultures and champion our teams and our whole organisations to be well and do well.
I hear turn the volume down. I mean, it can be overpowering, can't it? When you said about being a thinker, we all know quite well the VIA character strengths in the work that we all do together. But when I looked at Strengths Profiler for myself, I'm an analyzer. So I really get that thinking, like you're really going over and over, and we can get really good. That whole self-talk can really kick in and get so busy, can't it? Like it's just overpowering. And so I love that, turning that volume down and taking the leap. I really related to that in, we can be busy talking to ourselves, giving ourselves every reason why we can't do something. And I guess imposter syndrome or those imposter thoughts can really impact on opportunities for ourselves. It can hold us back. Lisa and I, we often talk about Adam Grant's work in Think Again. And when you see those or hear those imposter thoughts, feel them arising, we can sort of think again about, is this true, or challenging them in some way. And I think as we grow and understand the science more and work in this space, you start to see the benefits of standing up to it, ripping that Band-Aid off, as you say. I love that, and quietening those thoughts of not being good enough. I was saying to Lisa earlier today in a different conversation, it was around a paradox, and I think it actually came from Adam Grant. It was, we don't believe it in ourselves, or we might feel self-critical, but others believe in us and they lift us up. But so often we believe ourselves instead of those that are, giving us all that praise and lifting us up and seeing the best in ourselves. It's funny, isn't it?
It is, because who gives us that power? And who are we to not believe 5 other people and think that we know what we're talking about? I think it's hilarious. But I do often say to people about the volume thing, because I think that if it's innate in us, it's going to always be there. So we just need to make sure that it's either low down or it's on mute.
Yeah.
And we need to work hard on that.
Yeah.
And dialing it up and down. So sometimes, dialing that inner critic down, definitely, but then to dial up the inner coach is such a really good strategy as well. Is that voice actually very, and some people call it an unkind, like a mean girl type of thing in some areas. If it's just inner critic and inner coach, dial down the inner critic, dial up the inner coach.
And yeah, like you say, dial it up and dial it down, because sometimes you do need to have a chat with your inner critic, but you
Absolutely.
need to keep it in control and you need to keep it in perspective. But really, mate, like if we're in unsafe situations, we really need to be thinking. We need to say, is this right for me right now? And make sure there's a balance.
The new research is sort of suggesting too, it's that psychological fuel for us to actually say, well, hang on a moment, can I use this as motivation to leverage, like maybe my inner critic is actually telling me something true, and therefore perhaps I need to learn a skill or I need to be able to adapt some way. So then it helps us to move forward to where we want to go.
100%, Lisa. Love that point.
Kylie, we're curious to hear what advice you would give our listeners for when the imposter shows up.
Right. First of all, some people do give it a name, which I find hysterical. But I also find that, if you need to say, shh, Gertie, or whatever her name is, do that. But I think for me, the biggest thing is that I think you need to be really aware of when it creeps in, both mentally and physiologically, because I have clear signs when it's coming. I can feel it in my body, my mind is racing. And it really has helped me to grab for that positive self-talk and even take those mindful minutes to move through those times when that voice gets really loud. Sometimes I even use a mentally generated volume to say, no, it's time to turn it down. I grab my remote and it's time to turn it down. I think another thing is gather feedback and believe in the positive. So I know that in the workshops that I do and that we do as a collective, we often talk about what would a wise friend say. And the thing is, okay, you can get that feedback, but I know that in the past I've always tended to focus on the negative. Even if it's 90% positive, I will take that negative, overstew, have a really good chat with my inner critic about it, but really not think about the positives that's happening. So I always now try to gather some feedback, build up what is working while always looking for ways to grow, but to believe the people that are giving me this positive feedback and to really take that on board. And don't be afraid to shh your inner saboteur. Like, just say, you need to be quiet now. I will often sit in my home office and say, you need to be quiet now. It's time. It's time to be quiet. So
that will be funny to watch.
Well, if people did watch me, they'd think I was mad, but you got to limit the times that they stop you from doing things. Like you said before, Leanne, the number of things that I've probably stopped myself from doing, or the opportunities that I haven't taken because of my imposter syndrome, probably are multiple. So I really need to keep working, and I have been working, that I need to believe that the worst possible outcome never usually happens. So give things a go and then reflect on how you can really move forward.
And we're so good at making stories, aren't we? I know there was some research that came out of, I'm not sure which university, it was in the UK, and they did this research on the stories we believe, like how we think something's going to work out. We decide what it's going to be like, and I think it was something like 70% of those things that we think often is the same thing over and over again. And when we get there, when we get to the point of what the thing that we're worrying about or concerned about, it's nothing like what we've thought it was going to be like.
Whispers.
Yeah.
Yeah. And hindsight is a marvelous thing. You're just like, oh, phew, I made it.
Absolutely. It's a crazy kind of situation to be in, isn't it? Because I guess as well, like if you're tired, you're worn perhaps, we're challenged by all sorts of things around us at the moment, and that can really impact the way we see things as well in the bigger picture. So, yeah.
I also think it's really important to surround yourself with honest people, people that you know are going to tell you the truth. Like the friend that you take shopping to tell you if that dress is just not going to work. But you need to have those in your life all the time.
Yeah.
Now, I know this is a family show, so I won't say the last word of this acronym. I have a code with a friend. It's am I being the A when I need to debrief. So I'll just text her that and I'll give her the scenario and she'll say, yeah, you are, or no, you're not. And we'll be able to talk that through and we point each other's in the right direction. And I think those people are gold when it comes to imposter syndrome, because they'll talk you down fairly swiftly. You just got to believe them.
And that belief in stories, the positive stories about yourself, is so important. I was thinking about what they're all talking about, that too often we hear the negative, but it's only from our inner voice, and we dust off the positives. We don't actually listen to them and hear them and take them in. But the more we hear from others about the great things that we do, we should actually be starting to go, actually, we're building our confidence because we're actually starting to understand, actually, we do have a lot of strengths here. It's just that we're not really wanting to listen to them, but we probably should. And then that's that data to use as to who we are, builds our identity.
Makes me think about the best self exercise.
Yeah, I love that one.
I recall one time studying and our lecturer saying, okay, I want you to reach out to 20 people and ask them to share what they see in you when you're at your best. And the exercise in what people see in you is really quite eye-opening and a really good boost for your positive emotion and confidence, because, you know, when you see people see, you know, certain qualities in you, it really is quite validating and reassuring that you're on the right track. Have you guys tried that exercise?
Yeah, I have. And I was just thinking about how, when you said, Kylie, before about becoming more aware of who you are, so that mindfulness practice that comes into it, I found when I got the results back from my best self from others, that was what I did. I sat with it and I was embarrassed to start with. I felt quite overwhelmed, but then I went back and highlighted things and then noticed straight after that there were some common threads throughout all the stories. And it was really beautiful. And I cried because I felt disappointed in myself for not noticing that about myself. So it's definitely a great strategy. And Leanne, we might put that in the show notes after too, for others who might want to have a go at that. But that's me. What about you, Kylie?
Yeah, it's definitely valuable. I've got a piece of paper that we did once with a group of kids in a class that I was teaching, and they all had to write positive affirmations and things that they'd noticed about each other. I've still got it, and that was probably about 15 years ago. So it's just lovely to get that feedback. But like you say, we have to unpack it, and we need to find those common threads, and we need to actually be okay with saying, yeah, I actually do value those things about myself. Rather, I think what we do sometimes as a society, particularly tall poppies, we don't want to promote the good things about ourselves for fear of getting chopped down. And I think we've all got to work really hard on changing that mindset, because we should be able to say, listen, I'm really good at that, but that I need to work on. And that's an okay conversation to have.
It's all about learning, isn't it? Like learning more about yourself and others, and how you show up and how you want to show up as well.
And I think that type of reflection activity is exactly for that, Lisa. Like sometimes we think we're putting out a certain way, but that's not what people are reflecting back at us. So either for good, bad, or indifferent, we've got to seek that feedback continually so that we're able to, you know, get our minds straight, and then but really make sure that we are showing up how we think we're showing up as well.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm just wondering, Kylie, we would love to hear if there was a book, a podcast, or a TED Talk that you would recommend to our listeners today.
Well, there's a number, and we've already mentioned the Think Again by Adam Grant book. Would recommend that to anyone. But I've also, this is an oldie but a goodie. It's from 2017. It's How Can You Use Imposter Syndrome to Benefit, or to Your Benefit? And it's by Mike Cannon-Brookes, who is the CEO of the Australian tech company Atlassian. It's a really interesting and light-hearted look at imposter syndrome, and really makes it clear that we're not alone. And I think the key point that I took away from it is that you think that highly successful people don't suffer from imposter syndrome, but they do. And he talks through how his imposter syndrome has really challenged him to grow and to educate himself so that he can quieten down that inner saboteur, and how it's opened the doors for him I mean, he mentions a conversation with Elon Musk, which, you know, who has conversations with Elon Musk? But the way that him putting a tweet out and Elon actually replying, how that just said, oh, now I'm in too deep. I'm in too deep with my imposter syndrome. So he had to go away and do massive amounts of research and thinking so that he could hold his own in that conversation. So he used that imposter syndrome to his benefit and opened massive doors. So it's a really cool, it's about 13 minutes. It's worth a listen when you're on a wander. It's really quite lighthearted, but it really has some really bits of gold in there too.
I think I've seen that. It's a TED Talk, isn't it?
It's a TED Talk from Sydney.
Yeah, and that's right. And even in his TED Talk, he's just very cash in his t-shirt, and that's what he says. You know, here he was a young guy. If it's the one I'm thinking about, he is the young guy in his t-shirt, and everyone's there in the, in their nice suits.
That's it. And he said he started his business with his friend when they thought, well, who are we to be starting this tech company? And their only two business goals were never have a real job and never have to wear a suit.
Excellent. And therefore he has to keep showing up in this t-shirt.
Exactly.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you for that.
Kylie, thanks so much for the conversation today. Where's the best place for people to find out more about you and the wonderful work that you're doing?
Oh, thanks, Leanne. It's been a pleasure talking to you guys too. I could talk about this stuff all day. So I'm a bit of a fan of LinkedIn. So you can find me at Kylie McLerie on LinkedIn. And my company, Collective Culture Consultancy, can also be found on Instagram with the handle collective_culture_consultancy, or at www.collectivecultureconsultancy.com.au. So I usually update what we're doing on Instagram and LinkedIn, and then all of our services and the way that we work with businesses and individuals can be found on the website.
Wonderful. And we'll be sure to share that in the show notes as well.
That would be much appreciated. Thank you.
It's been such a pleasure to talk to you as always, Kylie. We would love to invite you to share one of your self-care strategies that you might have in your wellbeing toolkit to share with our guests today.
Right. Well, funny you should ask, because 2022 is my year to try new things away from work. So one of my self-care strategies is really to find a passion or a hobby that brings you joy outside of the sphere of your work, and perhaps even connects you to a new tribe. So I've articulated this to my friends for this year, and they're looking at all the different things. I'm going to try a whole heap of things and see which one sticks. Then hopefully by the end of the year, I'll have a fantastic new hobby that will bring me joy, clear my mind, and really just allow me to center myself away from the work that I do. So that would be one big one that I would love to.
Well, that
share
sounds
with everyone.
fantastic. A new hobby is sensational. Have you got an idea of what hobby you might like?
Good question, Lisa.
I got asked the question, what do you think you might want to do? And I came up fully blank. So I went to my wise friends and said, what do you think? And they're like, oh, we love drama. Why don't you join the rep club? Or you like singing, you should join a choir. You love, I'm not artistic at all, but there's a lot of like candle making workshops or stained glass making workshops that I might just try my finger at and see where I go. But it was interesting that I came up blank, but they were just throwing at me left, right and centre. So
blind friend will tell you everything about you.
Exactly.
And I just wonder, like, you said you're not, not creative, but I wonder if you're not creative yet.
Well, that's what my highly accomplished artist friend says to me. She says, because I say, I can't draw, and she says, yet. And I'm like, yep, the power of yet. You're very true.
Good growth.
The next Picasso, that's me, I think.
Picasso, Kylie.
Where does creativity sit in your VIA strengths?
In the middle. Creativity for me is more about in the ideas that I have and being able to think multi-level in terms of ideas rather than traditional artistic endeavours. So we'll see if it moves up.
Can't wait for you to tell us what it is.
And the first thing I'm trying is boogie bounce exercise classes.
What's a boogie bounce?
That's first on my agenda. On a little mini trampoline with 80s music.
Oh, that sounds like so much fun. Kylie, thank you so much for joining us today. We have loved the conversation with you.
Thank
As
you.
always.
It's been great. And I'm so excited to be part of this venture with you guys. It's going to be brilliant.
Thank you
Oh,
so
thank-
much. That was a great conversation, wasn't it?
I love Kylie. She's just fantastic. And what I love about her the most is her authenticity.
Yeah.
I loved it when she was talking about turning that dial down on her inner critic or the imposter syndrome. It's such a wonderful strategy to use. And just that terminology of dial it down.
Yeah.
It's always stayed with me since. Remember we watched or listened to the podcast on the Making Positive Psychology Work podcast. What was that? Who was that? Bistina?
Oh, Robert Biswas-Dina.
Yeah. He had
Yeah.
a great tool there talking about it almost like being a telephone in your own body
Yes.
and really just dialing it down or dialing it up if it needs to be.
Yeah. That anxiety around not being good enough. I totally related to that.
Yes.
I think many of us can. And taking the leap.
Such a good thing.
How often do we not do something or miss out on an opportunity because we listen to that inner critic?
Absolutely. And every time that when you're feeling like an imposter, there's that fear factor. And I think that's why when they termed it imposter syndrome, it has that medical side that makes it seem like a bad thing.
It's a problem.
Oh, it is. But I really like the new research that talks more about it being that fuel for growth and learning. And I think that that's where dialing that voice down so that you can actually go, hang on a minute, and move forward is fantastic. And that taking a leap of faith, like who cares if you don't get it right or it doesn't work? Yeah. You've experimented and you've put yourself in that mindset of a scientist to just have a go.
Yeah.
I really love that.
And another thing that sort of come up in this conversation, Lisa, was that inner coach.
Oh, for sure.
And I think that's something that as we move along with our podcast interviews and speaking to all these wonderful people, that inner coach is so important. And it's something I've been reflecting on, because Lucy sits there on my shoulder. She has all the power. She's not getting the power anymore. I have named my coach on the other side yet, but I'm thinking of something. But it's there. We're acquainted and we're talking more.
Maybe it's Luca. So you've got Lucy on one side and Luca on the other side.
Yeah, Luca. I don't know. I have to think about it. I need something to connect to. I don't know. But anyway, it was a wonderful conversation. That it was so relatable in the challenges or the experiences, should I say, and how they show up.
And also how, when we start to become more aware of that inner voice and your inner coach, you're going to lean more towards having opportunities rather than it being such a devastating thing that no, you can't do it and it stops you. It's a big barrier. I think those taking more opportunities and just seeing, one step at a time. All right, my lovely girl.
Okay. And thank you for listening to the Imperfect Us podcast. As always, we are extremely grateful to our executive producer, Brenton Ainsworth, for helping us to put this episode together. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please share it with someone you care about, and we would be grateful if you could rate this podcast on iTunes. To continue the conversation and see what we're up to, you can connect with us on LinkedIn. Just search for Imperfect Us. Bye for now.